I really want to try and gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be a Muslim.
So the concept of the nation state has only been around just over 100 years. So when you say what country, and they ruled the country, there weren't 1,500 years ago. There were no countries. There were generally there were kingdoms, and I guess.
What's the difference? Like a country, but
well, like the modern state with presidents and parliament, etc., and democracy. That's all just over 100 years old. Kingdoms are 1,000 years old, and 1,000 years ago there were kingdoms, and the king was the head of state. But then Islam came with a what would you say? Format for how to run a country with God as the sovereign, I suppose.
So let's say it's Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Which at the time of the Prophet obviously wasn't Saudi Arabia.
No.
It was known as
the Hijaz, I think.
The Hijaz. Oh, that was the whole area? I thought that was the province of Mecca and Medina, is the Hijaz.
I think the Hijaz was the name for the Arabian Peninsula, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, it wasn't a united kingdom, so to speak. They were just tribes living and at war with each other, I think.
So then Prophet Muhammad came with his revelation.
Yeah.
He then shares his faith.
Yeah.
But then why is he? That's why I don't get why he's the ruler. Why is in the ruler of himself?
Because I think.
As in, where does the politics come into it? That's what I don't get. Or was that part of the faith?
So, like, Judaism comes and gives you a format for how to run a family, let's say. And I guess Islam, although, I mean, there was the Kingdom of Israel, so maybe it does have a format for how to run a country, and even in this country, the Queen is the head of the church. So every religion tries to amalgamate the church and state, but for Islam, it's explicit. Like, this is the Sharia, the law of how the state will be run. So it's not just like Buddhism is a very inward-looking religion about the individual and how they interact with others and with the world. Islam would seem to be how a society can run. Now, I think you can apply Islam to the individual if you're living in a foreign country or a non-Muslim country, but if you're living in a majority Muslim country, a lot of Muslims would hope that, well, let's just run this according to Islam. I don't think in the modern times, I don't think you can do that. I wouldn't want to be in a country like that, but maybe there will be a type of Islam that could be implemented that would be compatible with the modern day. But Islam is split into so many different factions and different interpretations, and the people that want to implement that Sharia tend to be the people that would implement it in the most strict way, it seems.
Because my worry is, and I understand that religions can bring laws for the individual, but also country laws and the rest of it, and I'm not against that. But do you not run the risk of corruption being a lot higher?
I've always said it. You can't implement your religion, but you can apply it. You can't say, right, that's it. This is Islam, and we're going to do it like this. But you can understand the ethics and apply it, like the idea of giving wealth from the rich to the poor. Well, that's a great idea. You can apply that within your own house, and you can make sure you give to charity and zakat. But I don't think you should start saying, right, everyone's going to do this and you have to do it, and if you don't do it, I'm going to kill you.
And is that what happened?
I'm sure that the so-called Islamic State are enforcing their religion with violence and saying pay the zakat or pay the jizya, which is the tax on non-Muslims, and they're doing it at the end of the barrel of a gun, and I don't accept that. But if everyone of their own free will chose to follow Islam, then that would be, it would just happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Christianity took off in this country somehow, and it's a religion from the Middle East, but it happened because everyone wanted it to happen. And if you believe in democracy, then I guess there's nothing wrong with that.
Christianity happened because people wanted it to happen.
Well, was it enforced by the sword over here?
I don't know.
Nor do I. But
I mean, you hear of all the stuff about the Crusades and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I would guess
wasn't here, but
in the British Isles, as soon as the royal family or the kings adopted Christianity, then that's it. The loyal subjects all become Christian. But it happened over hundreds and hundreds of years, and there's no one today being forcibly held to be a Christian. There's no death penalty for leaving Christianity. Under the strict interpretations of Islam, the likes of ISIS are following. There are blasphemy laws and there are apostasy punishments for leaving
But
Islam.
this whole apostasy thing, that's, just to be clear, is that with a particular branch? Because I know this apostasy, so the idea behind apostasy is that if you follow Islam and then you leave it for another faith.
It's all about interpretation. I spoke to a guy in the park a few weeks ago who was saying that there's nothing in the Quran that says that you kill the apostate. It's la ikrara fi din, meaning no compulsion in religion, and the stuff from the hadith that says kill the apostate comes from a time when people were at war and certain individuals left Islam or pretended to be Muslim to gain information, and then like a spy, and then rejected it and turned on the Muslims. And until recently in this country there was a death penalty for treason. So it's not...
You say recently, but how...
Well, I think it was on the books until like the 1950s or so. I mean, we had the death penalty in this country until well into the 20th century, and treason was one of the last things that you could be executed for. I think, I'll look it up, right? Until fairly recently, technically, you could be executed for treason. Julian Assange may still be executed for treason in America, a country he's not even a citizen of.
Wow.
So we can point the finger at ISIS and say they're barbaric, but we're not that far behind.
No?
Here in the West.
No, I don't disagree with that.
But yeah, so everywhere has barbaric people.
I thought, and I might be wrong, I thought the thing about killing the apostate, or perhaps the infidel, was a very specific thing about if you're going to pray, if you're going on pilgrimage, if you're on Hajj, and there are people getting in your way and stopping you go to the Kaaba, it's at that moment you can do that. Or am I...
At that moment?
Yeah, it's only under those conditions that you're able to do that.
I don't know about that. Is that about jihad? People being prevented from practicing their religion, I've heard, is a reason to wage aggressive jihad, as in fight with the sword. I don't know. I'd have to look that one up.
Maybe. As I said, I find it quite a shame, I think, that any religion, this isn't about Islam or whatever the religion is, when you mix political leadership with the faith, you then leave yourself open to corruption.
I think that's why
because you'll have those people that want to lead, that want to take rather than just want to have that connection with God and just make the world a better place. It then becomes about, well, I can have real power here. I can rule this, I can rule that.
I mean, that's why places like France and America insisted on the separation of church and state. But if you're really, and I think a religion might be really great, it might be really spiritual, but people are not. And it's the people that apply the religion, and it's the people that will implement it in their own way, and they'll take this bit that says, oh, you can kill the person who leaves his religion and turns against you and attacks you, and they'll just read up to you can leave you can kill the person who leaves his religion, say, yep, right, I want to kill this woman who once said something against the Prophet or whatever. I'm trying to remember the example in Pakistan. Aisha Bibi.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Ice Babe.
That's the one, something like that. But man, people that are hateful will find a hateful way to interpret the religion. People that are loving will find a loving way.
Well, it's just like science. I was having the same conversation with someone about religion being good or bad, and I was like, well, is science good or bad?
Yeah. Hitler used it to justify his racism, or he tried to.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Anything can be used for. Yeah. Well, that's crazy, but I really want to try and gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be a Muslim.
It sounds like you've been doing a lot of reading. You said you read something
from. I am
from
trying to read the book. Go on.
The book about Shia Islam, but it's not written by a Muslim.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, there's a scholar. By the name of Mujan Momin, Dr. Mujan Momin, who's written this book about Shia Islam, who's essentially, I think, in the book trying to teach about what Shia Islam is and why the split occurred essentially between the Sunnis and the Shias, because the same way as we're sort of taught about Catholics versus Protestants and there's a similar war. Apparently it's not quite the same with Sunnis and Shias, although sometimes Western media likes to portray this kind of, it's this group versus this group and stuff. And
you came boxing in Kingston a few times, remember?
Well, we met boxing.
That's where we met boxing. Do you remember an Iraqi guy called Ali? They kept trying to invite me to his house.
Yes.
Like, you do have to come.
Yeah, yes.
He gave me a book about Imam Ali, which was apparently written by a Christian, but it was so in praise of Ali. You want to wander up and down, or are we?
No, we can wander. Yeah.
Recharge your shoulders. Yeah, a Christian wrote a book about Imam Ali, and I think the idea is that even to the impartial, you have to admire what Imam Ali did and his sons also. I've heard people say that there's places in India where even the Christians celebrate Ashura, which is the
Christian.
I think I'm right in saying that, or no, maybe it's the Hindus. Let's navigate these people. There's some.
There are equally as bizarre, in my opinion.
Well, I'll find out exactly.
So Ashura being when to do with Karbala.
The battle at Karbala,
and
yes, it's where.
So what is it
where Hussein, live like Hassan, die like Hussein. Hussein led them into battle, knowing full well that he would die, but he did it anyway in the name of peace, in the name of saving the religion.
Yeah.
And I guess.
Well, from what I understand.
How are you doing?
No, you're not. Sorry.
Marwan. Is it Marwan? How are you? Ash bin Saif.